And welcome once again, another edition of The Decline of Wrestling Civilization. We are the boys surrounded in blue. The cult icon, Eric Mutter. How's your hole doing today?
Oh! We're beginning already with that, aren't we?
That's right.
We're just going right into the hole there.
The whole thing is going to be the whole show.
It's in the hole. It's in the hole. I used that too soon. Probably right there. Well, I'm doing good. I'm sporting the Flames hat. Winners of the first Battle of Alberta.
Oh.
They get the hat. Oilers, if you want the hat on this head, win the next one.
I thought the Flames was because when you answered the question about your hole, you had Taco Bell and it was on fire or something.
No, I think outside the bun. You know that.
Gotcha. All right.
I think outside the bun.
And I don't even want to say host, but I'm the guy leading the discussion, Joe Martel, no icon, just sometimes the model if you have any 80s references and 90s references to wrestling.
Joe the Hole Martel.
Joe the Hole. It's weird. When I was in radio school, my radio teacher gave me the nickname The Hammer because Martel in French is very close to what hammer is when it's in French. So it makes sense. And it's just funny to think of Joe the model, Rick Martel, and then Greg the Hammer Valentine. It all connects.
Fun fact, in German, my name means mother.
That I think I was aware of that because of that Jennifer, what's her name? The very cute one that I like from the Hunger Games. She did a movie called Mother that I remember seeing the German posters.
I learned of that because there's a Rammstein song named after me.
There is. That's true.
I was popular with the death metal kids for a while in high school with that.
Mutter.
Yes. Very good stuff.
Du hast. That was more my experience. Let's just get this right out of the way. You might notice my voice might be slightly off. Unfortunately, there seems to have been a COVID outbreak at my wife's employment, and there is a possibility that I might have it. I am feeling symptomatic. It's nothing major. We're not going to be canceling any shows, but if we don't show up next week, that might be the reason why.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping for the best for you here and such. You know,
Thank you.
We were worried about this show for a little bit, but you're powering through. You're like insert wrestler who worked through an injury here. I can't think of anybody right now.
Well, there's been enough of them, but thankfully these days they try to take their injuries pretty seriously. That's more of an 80s look on things. And we already joked about the Hole.
Yes.
Obviously.
What's our favorite rock band? Hole.
Yeah.
The sky was all violet.
Good one.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes, and that's one of the records that's in that rack back there. There's definitely a live through this whole.
Great record. Was Nia and her hole asking for it? Is the
Oh, that is a good one because that's a cut that was not a single. You knew that one pretty well. Good stuff.
Kurt does vocals on that one.
That's correct.
That's why I sought it out because I was like, oh, Kurt Cobain did this song. I got to hear it.
Yeah, I don't know if he is officially on the last version or maybe I'm confusing it with another song, but there is a song that was cut from the album. Sorry, I shouldn't say cut, but a different edit of a song where you can really hear his contribution. Whereas I think the one that's on the record, it's very background. You have to go looking for it.
Yes.
Anyways.
But all right, now on to Nia Jax and her celebrity skin being bruised around the hole.
So it's just weird because Nia Jax has been one of the biggest heels to the internet crowd for the last, I want to say, year. It's probably been longer.
People do not like Nia Jax.
Not at all. And I'm usually someone that's a bit more forgiving, and I have no patience for Nia Jax, but there's a lot of other reasons for that. But this whole thing, I don't know if she's going to win back the fan base this way, but it's leading that way. People are actually giving her credit. And when I go on to the headlines about this whole comment, people are actually cheering her on in some way. It's very bizarre.
It's gonna last a week, and then it'll go back to.
They'll ruin it by next week by having her.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh my God. Yeah. Vince. If Vince decides to grab onto this, and there's actually evidence that he won't, because they edited it out of the YouTube video.
That's right.
Like poor Nia finally does something everybody likes. Vince is like, oh, get it out of the video there. I want to hear this about holes.
It's definitely a controversial thing. I can understand why they cut it out. That leads me to remember two specific moments. First off, Mickie James back from WrestleMania 22. We all know what we're talking about there. And then one that's not that long ago, when they showed the YouTube clip of the rap battle between New Day and Uso, and the Usos went rated R about Xavier Woods, that was cut out of the YouTube clip later on, which is too bad, because that line killed if you watched it live.
Vince was then like, I got to micromanage everything even more than I already do.
Well, look, when you have the pressures that the WWE has from all the corporation stuff involved,
the shareholders,
the toy companies that they have to please, I'm not saying they're doing the right thing, but I can understand why they take these steps. Anyway,
that match, by the way, that is a great match until the Mickie James Trish Stratus one.
Amazing.
I think they messed up the ending, but besides that, it was an awesome match.
Was there live for that one, by the way?
That was like the best women's match for 15 years in that company.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think they had anything pretty special until probably NXT, we'll say.
And you know, in some ways, they still haven't had a match that's entirely better, because that storyline was a top-notch storyline, that match.
Was well done. Really well done. It had enough ties to that Attitude Era vibe. Obviously, with what was cut out, you could tell where Mickie James had an Attitude Era influence on her act. But yeah, very good match, and really showcased what Trish Stratus was able to do, because she started as a bimbo model, the way a lot of mock Alana today or a bunch of others, but she developed into a really good talent. And yeah.
Lana has not developed into that.
No, that match.
See, that's the funny thing about if you take away that spot, if you take away the hole, if you take away the distant relative to my balls, Bully Ray's my balls, and Shelly Martinez's my vag, this match would have just been another
forgettable filler match
on the road. There,
The point I wanted to make on about that, we're going to jump all over the place today because there's a lot to talk about. But I was just happy because over the last couple of weeks we talked about how they never really finished that Lana storyline. She just disappeared and then she showed up again. So they at least put some attention into that story. It's just nobody cares.
God,
it's way too little, too late.
They didn't even care. They didn't, from what I understand, they didn't even announce the match was happening until it was actually happening. They might have announced
that part isn't true, but I can't remember if it was announced earlier on in the show or if it was announced on Twitter the day of. It definitely was not very much promotion, though.
Well, WWE in lack of promotion, I don't believe it.
I know. I think it was the night before Sunday night. I get a text from one of our mutual friends saying, "Oh, tomorrow night's Raw's main event is Orton against Drew again."
Drew was like, "What the hell, man?
Can't you just replay one of the 17 matches we had from Raw last year?"
Well, it's because they couldn't do it a few weeks ago because he got COVID. Vince was like, "We got to do it," but neglecting the fact that they shouldn't have done it a few weeks ago either.
And then what ended up happening, and this is something that I discussed elsewhere, we ended up getting a screw job ending, which I know WWE gets a lot of flack for, and I'm not a critic of that, but it's got to be well done, and in my opinion, this one was not well done.
No.
The reason why is they start the match with 15 minutes left to go. I don't mind a screw job ending, but I don't think you should do that with that much ring time, because the problem is fans of all types, whether it's casuals or hardcore fans, you get more invested the more a match goes in, even if it is the 84th matchup in the last year between these two. And then all of a sudden you don't get a resolution. I think a screw job works a lot better with a shorter match where it's just quick and it makes sense because, why would Sheamus wait 15 minutes to get involved and not get involved right away? It just makes more sense story-wise. It makes more sense for the active, the storytelling of the match. And then in the end, it was just a screw job ending that we all could have seen coming. but they took 15 minutes to get to it, therefore was very deflating by the end of the show.
Yeah, they're kind of, they spend a lot of time building to this Sheamus turn on Drew. And then last week, he kind of just out of nowhere. I mean, it wasn't out of nowhere because we all knew it was coming, but the moment where he did it was so ordinary for the build-up. And then this week, weak screw job finish, like you said. Drew already kind of gets his revenge on him and such. It feels like they've kind of stumbled with this, except and now too, this looks like it's going to be the Mania match.
It's possible.
Like, what? Because the chamber, at the chamber, it's going to be a chamber match, which I'm guessing is Drew. So it's Drew, AJ, Orton, Jeff Hardy, Sheamus, and The Miz. What a lineup that is right there. That is like, goodness. I think that's half of the people from the 2011 Chamber match right there.
You're probably correct. Very good point.
And the only reason Jeff wasn't there was because he was high as a kite at Impact at the time.
He was losing to Sting for valid reasons at the time.
Oh my God, that around that time. Oh my God.
Unfortunately, it was not the best time for Jeff Hardy.
No, thank God he got better.
I actually don't mind this Chamber thing, but don't forget there's another pay-per-view in between the Chamber and WrestleMania where Sheamus might get the I know what you're saying, but it could happen there.
Yeah, it could happen there, but there's not a lot of time after FastLane and for something to change there. They would have to be building two things at once, and I mean they have enough trouble building one thing at once.
You're not wrong.
I don't know who else it could even unless they're going to take the title off, because I know they're doing Lashley, Matt Riddle, and Keith Lee. Keith Lee beats Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle gets a title shot anyway. This is tremendous booking right there.
That made more sense than you're giving it credit for. But
I know they've been feuding and such, but it's like the guy lost, he gets a title match. What? Why? You should have just had it go to a draw there. In my opinion, that would have.
I could see that.
Then people like morons like me wouldn't be complaining right now. You would have shut us up. So unless Lashley's going to lose there, and then they start building to that, but I think you might as well just go with this Sheamus thing at this point. They don't have anything else, really.
Well, I'll bring up two people that were purposely not involved in this match because Shane McMahon came out at the beginning of Raw and said that everyone who's going to be involved in this chamber is a former WWE champion. But there's two people that were not mentioned. Maybe because they were technically Universal champions. I have to go through my history and figure that out. But The Fiend, who hasn't been around for a while, and then a man who returned for the Rumble and also hasn't shown up since then, Braun Strowman. So either of those could end up being Drew's challenger if Drew is still a champion by WrestleMania. I'm voting for those options, just saying it's possible.
I know you are loath to hear me bring this up, but
go ahead.
They have not ended that Randy Orton Bray Wyatt thing yet for a reason. That is going to be the Mania match.
Most likely. And thankfully, if it's not for the title, I'm hoping at this point.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not going to be for the title.
Well, it could happen at the chamber. Orton could win. There's a path for it to take place.
What are you doing? I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I know. I'm poisoning my own.
They could put the... Oh, no, please. Vince, if you're listening to this, don't do it.
Well, to be fair, it's not like you'd be watching anyway, so...
No, but I like you, so don't do it for Joe.
Thank you. I would appreciate it.
He will be mildly annoyed if you do that.
That would be a pretty serious.
He'd be seriously annoyed.
Yeah.
His soul would be seriously hurt by this.
Relating back to what you're saying about Lashley, that could still be an option. But then the other rumor is that they might be bringing Brock back to take on Lashley in a match that's been rumored for the last, 5 to 10 years.
They could certainly afford him now with the Peacock deal. I'd be bringing him in.
Peacock deal and live attendance at WrestleMania, it might end up being something. By the way, we just had that at the Super Bowl over the weekend. I didn't tune in. Did you watch that? You said you were.
Yes, I did. It went as well for the Chiefs as it did for Nia Jax's hole in that game. I'll tell you that much.
It was Chiefs against the Buccaneers, right?
Yes, Tom Brady wins again. What do you want me to tell you? That happens all the time. So yes, I think there was about 23,000 people there, which I believe is going to be the amount at WrestleMania. I mean,
what was the energy like to watch the football? I was about to say match. Shows you how much I'm good at footballing. The sporting teams. Those are my teams. What was the energy of having a half full stadium for?
I mean, it was fine. I can't say I really noticed any major difference from when there weren't really. I mean, Tampa Bay has had fans all season. Obviously, a limited amount, but they've had fans there and such. So I don't think it was that much different.
Okay.
I don't know. It just.
But have you watched any Tampa Bay football games to feel that energy?
Yeah, they've been on TV here all year because
I just didn't know if you watch them.
Oh yeah, no, I watch football regularly. I'm a sports guy. I'm sorry. So yeah, it's all right. So like because Brady is a former New England guy, they televised every game here. So I saw pretty much all of the games he played, and yeah, there was a decent energy there. I don't know. You know, I was more in tune with the action on the field than I was really paying attention to the crowd.
As you should be.
I think it'll make a difference for WWE when they do that, because it's going to be the same amount of people. I believe it's going to be around 23,000 people. And, you know, generally when WWE does these outdoor shows, it's a bigger problem having more people because they don't have enough equipment to catch all the sound. So having only about 23,000 people, I think, will actually help them.
Interesting.
You know, in order to capture more of the sound. Really, the concern there is the, you know, health risks and everything.
Well, that was going to be my scruples question to you. Let's say it was an AEW show, because I know you wouldn't go to a WWE show, but if it was an AEW show and it was their big show, let's say it was Revolution, in that stadium with the same amount of live attendance, and you were around, would you go?
No chance in hell would I go to that. No.
Me neither.
No chance. I understand why some people will, and it is outdoors and such. I know for the Super Bowl, a lot of the people in attendance were vaccinated health workers.
Yeah.
So
I think it was about a third or a quarter or a third of the attendants were all vaccinated.
Yes. There were some AEW people there. I saw Jericho, Cody, and Brandy there. You know, Cody and Brandy were masked. Jericho was not. Stunning, I know.
Shocker.
Shocker of all shockers there. So they, you know, like, I don't know. It's a risk, obviously, you know, but Vince, they want to do it. They're not going to do it empty arena again. So
yeah, it's hard, even though the Thunderdome has been a pretty good success, and I forget that there's no fans quite often, not all the time. There was a weird match. It was actually on Raw. Jeff Hardy was trying to get the crowd behind him with his clapping thing, and it just doesn't work when it's a bunch of screens, Jeff, but nice try.
No.
But I do think that energy will help to WrestleMania. Obviously, Vince will want to push through with this. I think the energy from the performers will probably be increased as well, because it's as we all know, wrestling is very interactive with the crowd.
It's definitely helped AEW having people there and such.
I can only imagine. Absolutely. I know NXT, it's not that they have paid attendance, but they have, I don't know, 20 to 40 people around. It's definitely not much, but that real energy, the fans can interact with the performers, and it makes for a more engaging show. And
of course, yeah.
I don't, obviously, last year was just a write-off for everything, but that WrestleMania, I think if it had been in front of an audience, would have been a very highly rated WrestleMania, but it was very deflated by the fact that it was all done with
at the same time, some of the more creative stuff they did on those shows, I don't think they would have been able to do if they had, like, I don't know if they wouldn't have done the Boneyard match.
Right.
Sure, that would have just been a regular match, and I think that would have been nowhere near as creative as it wound up being.
Probably. My favorite match of I was about to say the night, but the whole weekend, because it's another 2-night event, Charlotte and Rhea, and we'll get into what's going on there in a second. That was my favorite match, and I really feel like that would have been even better.
Oh yeah, well, until the ending, it would have been.
I didn't care about that, but that's because I'm not.
Other people certainly would have.
They definitely did. But the issue, again, is never the loss. We've talked about this.
Oh God, yes.
It's the follow-up and the fact that there was no follow-up. And so far, even though they had a great opportunity to follow it up in the last week and a half, they haven't done it yet either.
I'm beginning to worry that the follow-up isn't coming here either.
Well, as I was watching,
let's get into this.
Yeah, sure. Over the WrestleMania week, obviously you had the night after WrestleMania on Raw. Yeah. Rhea wasn't there. We did our show, then we watched an NXT. She wasn't there again. I thought, well, maybe that means she's going to be on Friday nights. I don't see how that would work story-wise, but hey, it could happen. She wasn't there again. Okay, maybe she is going to show up on Raw, and no, it didn't happen again. So it's very odd because WWE, while they have a lot of booking mistakes, you and I will discuss that to the end of time. One thing that they don't do very often is they had her as the runner-up of the Royal Rumble. That is a huge spotlight. You do not ignore that person for a week.
Not only that, she eliminated the most people in that match. She was by far the most dominant person in that match.
Absolutely. And we talked last week how it was very much Batista Cena. There's no way Vince would have done that with Cena or Batista back in 2005, where let's just continue that story maybe in 3 weeks.
Yeah, Cena would have been on the next show, and I'm sure he was on the next show.
Yeah. Absolutely. So obviously there's some sort of error there. Maybe they have something they're going to pull out of the last minute, but so far they've really dropped the ball with Rhea. Even I can say that, and I've been defending the loss since WrestleMania last year.
And it doesn't, it looks like they're going with Charlotte versus Lacey Evans.
It's possible. I don't know if that's the direction they're going towards WrestleMania, but that's definitely the direction they're going at this point.
Well,
you got to remember there's that extra FastLane pay-per-view.
Yes. Again, though, I'm going to bring up here, that's only a few weeks before. I believe that is the 21st of March. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Sounds about right.
But I believe it's the 21st of March. I have a calendar in this room, and I believe that does say March 21st is on a Sunday. And I think just 3 weeks after that is WrestleMania.
Yep.
That is a quick, if you're going to do Rhea and Charlotte there, like say Charlotte were to beat Lacey Evans at FastLane, first off, you would then be exchanging the title 3 times, which is way too much in my opinion. And second off, that's too rushed.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's too rushed in my opinion. You can do it, but I think it would take the bite out of it a little bit.
That's fair. I think we'll see a lot of things could be going in any direction, because having that extra pay-per-view, even though it only gives them 3 weeks notice, still is something that can change everything. We saw that literally last year, where I can't remember who was holding the title, but all of a sudden Goldberg, it was The Fiend. Sorry, The Fiend.
That was the Saudi Arabia show.
Either way, they still had that last minute, no reason to change the direction whatsoever, but they did it anyways.
Yeah.
And then they had the pay-per-view at WrestleMania, and
because Vince thought he was getting spear versus spear at the time. And then Roman was like, I ain't working during this thing. And he left. And now Vince is doing spear versus spear this year.
Possibly.
But without it's going to be that. Spoiler alert, people.
I'm quite confident as well, but we're not exactly sure yet. Hey, it might be Finn Balor.
If I'm wrong, I will not wear a hat on this show for that week. That's how confident I am. You will actually see my hair, people, good people of America, Canada, and the world, on this show. You will see the hair if that happens. Just to me, maybe there are going to be twists and turns. If it were me, I wouldn't even do that. I would just have gone with this now. I would have set up Charlotte versus Asuka at the Elimination Chamber. I would have had Charlotte win the belt. I would have had Rhea Ripley on Raw already. I would have established that that's the direction, and I would have just gone with that, mainly because this Al Wilson, Tori Wilson, Dawn Marie remake thing they're doing is just silly.
I'm enjoying it.
Well, I'm not surprised there. You are much more patient and much more forgiving than I am.
It's nowhere near as bad as the Al Wilson was. That was a terrible angle with
that angle sucked.
That was awful on all accounts. First off, wasn't Dawn Marie the person involved as well? And she was a bad actress. And Ric Flair is way better than Al Wilson was.
Oh my goodness, is he? Yeah.
And Tori Wilson, I'll never put her on my list of, like, she was an attractive woman, but I don't credit her any more than Miss Elizabeth to her contributions to the wrestling world. She was not an actress. She was not a good valet. She was not a good worker.
Oh, she was not a good worker. I think she was a good character performer in some regards, but that angle was just, I mean, that angle was gross.
It was
like,
gross.
And I mean that as pretty much like they set it all up as a comedy bit to then just kill the guy off because he was loving too much and he died from too much extracurricular activity.
And what they're doing differently now is they came out on Raw and said that it's a purely professional relationship between Lacey and Rick, kind of like a wink and a nod about that.
I don't believe that one right there, Chief.
Well,
I don't know about that one, Chief.
You're talking about kayfabe here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing is kayfabe. They said it wink and a nod, like no, it's purely professional. And so it's a lot more subtle than I would give WWE.
They ain't playing with each other's holes. There is what we're saying.
Wow, that is low. Lacey is a much better actress than either Tori or Dawn Marie. Ric Flair is much better than Al Wilson, and Charlotte. She's not a good babyface.
There.
Well, she's not a good babyface, but she has a lot of passion, whatever she's doing, and she's doing this part of it well. I like Lacey as a in-ring worker. She still needs a lot of work. She's still young and green, but she's one thing that I find the women across all the promotions are lacking is an aggressiveness. There's not a lot of women that can go out, like even Bayley and Sasha, great wrestlers, but you don't feel like they could really beat people up. Whereas I could feel that with Lacey. She really gives her right hand, the women's right, really has the effect of feeling like she could go out there and punch someone out, and she has the attitude to back it up. Asuka is another one. Alexa is not.
No.
Just to give you that balance of, yes, these people are stars, but they don't feel like credible threats. Lacey is not quite the star, but she's a credible threat.
I hear you.
Oh, you can disagree.
And yeah, obviously, we can agree to disagree, but I think even you'll agree with me here. If I had to pick between Lacey Evans and Rhea Ripley to go with here, I don't even need a second to do that. So from that standpoint alone, I would not be doing this with what it looks like they're going with. Maybe there is some sort of plan. Maybe they are going to, ping pong the title around until it gets to Rhea Ripley, which I will say I would think is better than this, even if I think it's not a great idea by itself either. But I would not be doing this right now. I would have had Rhea Ripley on Raw last week. I would have had her confront Charlotte. I would have made it clear that Charlotte and her is the direction. I would have made it clear that they're doing Asuka versus Charlotte at the next show, and that would be the direction. And instead, it looks like they're going with this, and I think that's going to disappoint a lot of people right there because people have been waiting for this Rhea Ripley thing for a year now.
Let me propose something to you.
Yes, okay.
So we have Asuka, who's the champion. Lacey's getting the title shot at the Chamber. Charlotte's obviously in the mix. That's 3 credible women. Well, 2, and then Lacey, who's getting there.
Yeah.
It's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
2 nights. What did they do at New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom when there was 2 nights? They had 2 matches.
So you're proposing a mini tournament here.
I don't know if it's going to be a mini tournament, but I do think the possibility is that Rhea can be added to the mix in a very organic, natural way that could still have her leaving WrestleMania.
And they could do her versus Asuka night 1. They can blow off the Lacey Charlotte thing, and then on night 2 do it. Well, that is a much better plan than what I think they're going to do.
I am not predicting that, by the way. I'm just telling you that there's so many possibilities that I am not shutting it down until we see what actually takes place. And the other possibility is just a 4-woman title match. If they do insert Rhea in there and then she ends up having her Charlotte one-on-one match maybe the month after, which is something they did at WrestleMania 2000 with Backlash after that with Triple H and The Rock. So there's so many possibilities, and I think Lacey's really nailing it right now. So even though it's scary, I can see the concern that many fans would have. At least what they're doing is entertaining me, and that's all I really care about.
I mean, yeah, hey, more power to you there. At some point, you're going to wait too long with this Rhea Ripley thing. And yeah, I mean, like, at some point, you're going to go past the point of no return. And that's not me saying she's going to be a player. I don't think she's going to end up being like, Trevor Ricochet Man or anything like that. She's not going to be losing to Angel Garza on main event or whatever, and then getting beat up by Damian Priest and Bad Bunny a few days later. But at some point, you're going to put a ceiling on how much her star can rise if you wait too long, because there always comes a moment where this is it. This is where you got to capitalize. And I just worry with the direction they seem to be going in that they may end up missing that unless they do have something else planned here. And maybe they do, but I'm not filled with confidence, obviously.
No, I wouldn't be filled with confidence either. Even as a fan of all involved, I am not filled with confidence.
Right.
I don't see the possibility of Rhea getting involved. The only thing I can think of is they're holding her off for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then she's going to attack Charlotte in a way that really caps it off. But I agree with you. They should do it sooner rather than later. Maybe the concern is that by the time they got to WrestleMania, they wouldn't have as much tension. Because you got to remember, when we talk about all these extra pay-per-views, and I know WWE does way too many of these big shows, and yes, 3 weeks before WrestleMania, it's very bizarre.
Yes.
But you rewind back to 88, 89. We just saw on, I think it was on SmackDown, they did the 33-year anniversary of the main event, the most watched wrestling match of all time.
Yes.
Andre and Hogan, the rematch.
They had Hogan on to talk about that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's not about the Hogan part. I'm just pointing out that they directed WrestleMania basically with a month and a half notice. It was all done this week, basically, and then they were figuring out the WrestleMania plans. It was the same thing when the whole challenge at WrestleMania 3 took place. The Piper's Pit segments took place in February, and then WrestleMania took place in March, at the end of March. But still, they did a lot of these direct changes, very quick shifts in direction within weeks before the show.
Yeah, but they had the benefit of not being on TV at the time, too.
7 hours a week and everything.
And the booking was much better back then as well. So
overall, yeah.
Yes, I mean, I get your point, though, because that was very obviously a problem a few years ago when they had set up Becky and Ronda Rousey, and they were like, how do we keep the tension going? And then they killed that angle by inserting Charlotte for reasons I still don't know. And they also did that dumb thing where Becky was apologizing to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon.
I don't recall that, but I'm sure
in a segment or
sounds
something.
Pretty dumb stuff.
And ultimately, that main event, although this has happened with Mania main events because it's been so long, that main event was kind of dead. It wasn't as good as people hoped. The finish was messed up, and they definitely are concerned about that whole. Well, we can't book with the whole situation. They're concerned about that. They definitely don't have confidence in, well, we can keep this thing going for. That's why you haven't seen Edge and Bianca Belair for certain choose their opponents, because they probably don't want to do a build from January all the way to April.
Absolutely. And I don't blame them for that, but you got to make it organic. They want to make it make sense. So far with those two, their appearances on Raw and SmackDown and NXT in the case of Edge has been interesting. We know he's not going to choose Finn Balor, but at least they're getting him involved in NXT in an entertaining way.
Yeah.
They're just not doing that with Rhea so far. But
no.
Let's move on from that subject. Another thing you just mentioned was Bad Bunny, Damian Priest. Look,
not a fan of this.
There's parts of it I am a fan of. I am definitely not going to care about the match, whatever it does. If they end up doing that tag team celebrity thing, no, I don't care. At the same time, what I do care about is I've been telling you for the last 6 months, maybe, Damian Priest has a great essence, a good presence here on NXT. There's something very special about the former Punishment Martinez. He's really been reinvented, and it seems like WWE is going to agree with me in that sense, because while you and I don't give a crap about Bad Bunny, and I don't think I've ever heard of him before he was promoted on WWE TV, he's a big deal. Apparently, he was the
huge.
number one streamer of the whole year of 2020 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And having him team up with Damian Priest, that's a big boost. That's not something you forget about.
I'm glad you brought this up. I don't know if we discussed this last week. I don't think we did, but there was a huge controversy because people were very upset that this Bad Bunny guy has been appearing on Raw at the Rumble. They've been like, well, who the hell is this guy? I've never heard of this guy. Why are they using this guy? And it's, far be it for me to defend Vince McMahon or WWE on really anything. You friggin' people know why they're using this guy.
Yeah.
He is, maybe just because you don't know. Look, I don't know the guy either, but I know enough to know that he's a popular musician, that he's very popular internationally. We all know why they're doing this. This is why they do this. This is why AEW is using Shaq. They think that they can grow their audience by using a popular celebrity. More power to them for doing it.
And not only that, but I think this is one of the few instances where WWE is really being smart, because usually they'll get celebrities that are past their prime. We'll make that accusation about Shaq, but that's, look, I understand AEW's got to deal with what they're still building.
But Shaq is still in the news all the time too.
He's still in the news, and he's still a celebrity. I see him on commercials all the time, and he's pretty much just as relevant as he was when he was a Laker and an Orlando Magic player.
Right, yeah.
But the point is, we've accused WWE of being very late. I think Kevin Federline was in WWE 2 years after his album was a big deal, or his,
after he got divorced by Britney Spears.
Yeah, it still worked to a point, but he wasn't the biggest star at the time. And we've said this for so many times. Bad Bunny, I don't know him, but at the same time, my 16-year-old nephew, he knows him. And the big deal to him. My 22-year-old niece, she's a fan of that style of music. She's a fan of that. She was interested in The Weeknd at the Super Bowl, and she's never watched any football in her life.
Right.
It might not be for me or older wrestling fans, but they might draw in a kid crowd, which would be beneficial.
Exactly. This is all about, these guys aren't just in the business just to put on great matches. They're in the business to make money.
Absolutely.
They're trying to grow the audience. They're trying to get more eyeballs, because if they don't do that, they can't survive.
It's true. And the one thing we've all accused WWE of doing is not building their audience. They've been reducing since 2021, maybe 2001. We
shouldn't even have to say this. I mean, now, do I think this is going to help grow WWE's audience? Probably not. Do I think that's Bad Bunny's fault? Not in the least.
No.
The reason they're not going to grow the audience is because his fans are going to tune in, see my hole, and go, all right, what the hell else is on?
Yeah.
That's why it's not going to grow. It has nothing to do with him.
There's so many aspects that work about it, but there's so many aspects that don't. First off, Miz and Morrison, they're entertaining, but they're not. What they should be.
That part, again, I just continue to be amazed that Johnny Mundo, he left. He was a superstar every single other place he went. He was a top star in Lucha Underground. He was a top star in Impact. He was a top star in AAA. He was probably a top star in some other promotion that I can't remember right now. He comes back here. They offer him a ton of money to come back, and he's the Miz's lackey. And now he's going to be losing to Bad Bunny, which again, I mean, and look, in theory, this should help Damian Priest. I don't have a problem with that right there. I don't have a problem with the idea in general, but like, man, I wish they were using somebody else in this spot right here.
I get that. At the same time, there's always going to be, I wish it was somebody else either getting a push or losing. When you have a roster that stacked, you're never going to be happy with who wins and loses going forward.
Yes.
And the other thing that comes, and just my feeling, not a prediction, but the Miz and Morrison thing is getting tired, and I think I sense WWE's getting tired of it as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they do lose at WrestleMania and Morrison goes in the other direction.
Oh, well, hopefully so. Personally, to me, I would be putting Ricochet and some other guy in this spot right here.
But then the match wouldn't be as big a deal because Ricochet isn't as big a deal as Morrison is right now. So it's a catch-22. Try to get someone who matters.
I got a better idea. Retribution.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Let's do that. Mason T-Bar. T-Bar gets pinned by Bad Bunny. I love it. Let's do it, Vince.
One last thing I want to mention WWE-wise before we get into Wednesday Night Hype is that we've talked for weeks how terrible WWE is at promotion. We actually just made fun of it a few weeks ago.
And now we're going to praise it.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to pray. They just did it once. I don't know if it's the biggest deal, but at least they're making a big deal out of the fact that last week on SmackDown, they announced that Seth Rollins is returning to the brand this week coming up, so 2 days from now. And they're actually building it up for the whole week. I wish you could do that with anything else, but at least they're actually doing that in some way, and let's hope it's the direction. Maybe they're learning from AEW and what they're doing right and actually promoting things weeks in advance.
Well,
hoping.
I don't think that's going to be the case, but at least
hoping.
It's at least it's better than what they I mean, goodness, you talk about promotion. Let's talk about that Edge thing. You called this last week. I thought that was going to be a close battle Wednesday night in the ratings. With Edge being on NXT. And instead, they got trounced. Edge, his segment got throttled by the wedding of Kip Sabian.
Yeah.
Kip Sabian can actually tell his grandchildren, I beat Edge in the ratings one day. That is insanity. And a big reason for that, well, it is, if you just think about who the two people are. One guy is Edge, a legend. The other guy is the Kipper.
Sure.
Not quite a legend. So if you just look at it at that value, obviously there's bigger things, like I'm just about to say. They announced Edge being on NXT, I think, hours before we did the show last week, right?
Yeah, it was the day before.
The day before. And then they didn't really do anything else other than that. Maybe a couple posts on Twitter. This guy won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
This guy is probably, or I shouldn't say probably, but could win the title at WrestleMania. He's going to main event at WrestleMania for 100%.
Sure. He's a legend from a previous era. You can see WWE has really taken advantage of Brock and Goldberg and so many other returns.
And now they're trying to do the same here.
Which I get. I'm not saying I'm a fan of, but I get. And yes, they announced it. And it was done very lame. I think it was all done with Beth Phoenix on Twitter. Now, that said, I am not on Twitter. I know I have a Twitter account underneath the screen. I probably haven't checked it for about a month. So if you've messaged me, that's why I've forgotten it. I don't know Twitter that well. But Twitter is a big announcing or advertising circle. Every celebrity uses it for that reason. Maybe that's what WWE is hoping for. But to me, it's a missed opportunity. You should really book events.
They should have promoted that on Raw. Now, granted, Edge has had problems, like the Raw rating last week and this week was not strong, as you would expect coming off the Rumble and off Edge winning. The SmackDown rating was down, and he was a big part of that show too. So there is something to the idea that Edge, while being a legend, isn't the draw that some of these other guys necessarily are.
I think I could have told you that 2 months ago.
That's true too. But I mean, they barely promoted him being on that show. They're doing this tournament, this tag tournament, which did not draw at all last year. It's not drawing this year, whether that's because people don't like that it kind of screeches to a halt some of the other storylines, if they just don't care about tag wrestling in NXT because it's a few regular teams against a bunch of thrown together teams, while AEW has the superior tag division there. I don't know what, maybe people don't like Timothy Thatcher either. There's obviously a myriad of reasons for that number, but like the lack of promotion for Edge is just, it's maddening.
It's something that I don't want to say is a good thing in any way. I've just accepted it. WWE's not going to do it. Other than the Seth Rollins exception, they haven't done that very well.
No.
Even their pay-per-views, they did a good job building up the Elimination Chamber on Raw, but there's only one more Raw before.
Yeah.
They hadn't announced any matches until less than 2 weeks before the show. So that's just the way WWE does things. Let's move on to AEW, who did announce what's going to happen this week, and they had some big news from what happened last week.
We'll save the big news for the last one there.
So you want to run down the card then, is what you're saying?
All right, yes. This card, which ranges from good to what the hell are they thinking, is what I like to say. So I'm pretty sure they're going to open up the show with Darby Allin defending the TNT Championship against my hero and not your hero, the bad boy Joey Janela.
By the way, I am not a Jim Cornette fan, but I do agree with him about Joey Janela.
Well, that's unfortunate. I love Joey. He had a great match on Dark last night against another one of my heroes, Jack Evans. A match that began with Jack Evans springboard kicking the sunglasses off of Janela's face. A great moment. He's hot right now coming off the GCW shows Joey just did. And, him and Darby, they're just crazy. So you know how that match is going to be. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be right up my wheelhouse. I'm going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Then we have a little bit of a downturn. We have Cody and Lee Johnson versus Cesar Bonani and Peter Avalon. First, let me say a nice thing. Lee Johnson is great.
Okay.
And beyond that, I have no idea what they're doing this match. I presume him and Cody are going to win. But they did Cody and Peter Avalon a few weeks ago. We talked about this before the show. That match went 9 minutes. It was 9 minutes too long. I like both guys, but there was no reason for it to be that when they haven't established Avalon at all. They have a loose story from AEW Dark, which is the reason for this. Avalon and Lee Johnson did the Zoolander-style walk-off on Dark, which was very entertaining. Lee Johnson won, and then Bonani attacked him afterwards and aligned with Avalon. So he's the heater. He's Avalon's heater. So that's the reason this match is happening, because Lee Johnson is aligned with Cody.
Right.
But we don't need it. I can't imagine it's going to be anything better than okay. Bonani, people may remember Cesar Bonani is an NXT guy, or he was. What did you think of him while he was there?
I liked him, but I think he's older, if I remember correctly.
He is older.
Yeah, I think I didn't even know he was released, to be honest. He was not as big a deal of a release as Tay Conti was, as an example, who did move on to AEW and has improved since.
Yes.
I liked Cesar because he was a very unique presence. I think he's also Brazilian, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he is.
So he had a different approach, but other than him being Brazilian and looking a little different, I didn't think much of him. The good thing with NXT is they have a lot of talent that they can build around and become special. He was one that you kept waiting for it to become special, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, he's big. He's not terrible.
No.
I think he's better than the first time I saw him on Dark. And he and Avalon have a nice goofy chemistry, because it's obviously a goofy comedy tag team and such, heel tag team. I don't know. I think you would have been better served putting anything else here in this spot. Right. So I'm not high on that.
It sounds like it might be a good promotion for Lee Johnson, though. Him getting the rub from Cody Rhodes, very similar to what we were seeing months ago with Will Hobbs, where he was getting associated with Cody Rhodes before the heel turn.
Well, a lot of people don't remember. Ben Carter, the NXT UK guy, a big reason he has the job now is because of a match he had on Dark with Lee Johnson.
Okay.
I know the Scorpio Sky match he had on Late Night Dynamite helped that too, but that Lee Johnson-Ben Carter match, if you haven't seen it, was awesome. And
that was
Carter,
on Dark?
It was on Dark.
So you could go find it on YouTube.
You could go find it on YouTube whenever you want. Carter got all the accolades for that, and rightfully so. But I'm telling you, Lee Johnson was just as great in that match as he was. He is going to be a star. So from that standpoint, this is a good matchup because he's going to get that win. I don't know if I would have done on this show with the momentum they have from the thing we will talk about in a little bit. I don't know if I would have done that. I also don't know, to get the other, snoozer of the card out of the way, I don't know if I would have done Pac versus Lil Ziggler either.
Yeah, Ryan Nemeth, he's going to be on Dynamite.
He has not gotten positive reviews. He had a forgettable match with Hangman a few weeks ago. He has some charisma. And in his defense, that was his first match in a couple of years.
Right.
So he does have a little bit of rust, but I've seen him a couple times now, and he's just fine.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case with a lot of people that get let go from NXT. I'm not saying AEW shouldn't get sign them, but don't expect them to all be Tay Contis. They're obviously going to be future stars.
He hasn't been in NXT since 10 years now or something.
I don't know if it was 10 years, but he was known as Briley Pierce, I think, and he was an interviewer in his last role in NXT.
Yeah, that should tell you something. I mean, he's going to lose to Pac, obviously. Yeah. And Pac is so great. Maybe Pac will discover something. I don't know.
It's an interesting way to get a squash match, or at least what I would think would be a squash match. Oh, it's Ryan Nemeth. It's Dolph Ziggler Jr., who's obviously going to lose. Pac's going to end up looking good, which is needed on a show like Dynamite. You need to make your stars look good, but you don't want to job out your future stars. You don't want him doing that to Will Hobbs, for example.
And it'll be short. Just between that and that tag match we just discussed, it's like, oof. Now, the rest of the card is fine.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho and MJF are wrestling. Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, the Acclaimed. I love the Acclaimed. They're hilarious. Caster is great with the rapping gimmick. They set this up well last week in the Tag Battle Royal where Caster eliminated MJF. A big elimination there, too.
Okay.
Quite honestly. They did very well establishing him and Darius Martin of Top Flight, who was the final guy with Jericho in that match.
Okay.
And now they're going to continue that with the Acclaimed here. I think this will be a solid, entertaining match. Jericho has looked a lot better since he nearly decapitated himself on that lion salt, and then came back the next week and was like, watch this, people, and hit it perfectly. So I think that'll be good. I am very excited for this match, and in general, Thunder Rosa, legit Layla Hirsch. This is the opening match of the Women's Eliminator Tournament, which I don't know if we really discussed. For those who don't know, they are doing 16-woman tournament. There's a U.S. bracket, which will feature this match. Serena Deeb versus Riho, who is not American, but she is back in the States. So I guess we're going to counter for that one. And who cares? Look at that match. That match looks great right there, too.
Fair enough.
That's another match. And then the final four people are the Ty Conti, who is so good now. I can't believe how good she's getting. Anna Jay, Britt Baker, and Nyla Rose are the final four on the U.S. side. And then they're doing matches in Japan. Hikaru Shida has gone to Japan. She's producing this side of the tournament from there. So I'm going to forget some of these people, or I'm going to forget some of their names. But the participants there's a girl named, I think it's Rin Kadokura, Maki Ito, who is a uproariously entertaining Twitter presence. We talked about Jim Cornette. Cornette took a shot at her. I think he said that she was the king of the shit eaters or something, and she responded to him or whatever. Was some great response earlier today. So they're now feuding, and I think that'll never blow off.
So she's added to a list of about 20,000 wrestlers feuding with Cornette. I mean,
who does Cornette like? Coach. That's the only wrestler he likes. He's a bit
Sydney Steele.
Big Sydney Steel fan. Maybe Mojo too. Probably likes him.
All right.
So they got those two. We have Mai Segura. We have Rio Mizunami. I think I'm butchered her name. I apologize, people. She was one of the women that was on the Double or Nothing, the first Double or Nothing show in that 6-woman tag.
When I was excited for the AEW women's division.
Right. Yes. Before everything then occurred, and now she's back. We have Emi Sakura, who's obviously a full-time AEW person, making her return. Yuka Sakazaki.
There you go. She was the one I was a fan of.
Yep, she's back. We have Venny, who is, well, she has to use that name because unfortunately her usual name is taken by a WWE superstar named Asuka.
Oh, okay.
So, but her name in Japan, she goes by Asuka. She's a 22-year-old transgender performer. She is incredible. Okay. She might be the best performer in this whole thing. And then the final, yeah, it is, because this Japanese side is loaded right here. And then the final participant is a person people are going to recognize, is Aja Kong.
Ooh. Well, she was at the original AEW shows, right?
Yep, she was at Double or Nothing. She's now 50 years old. She is still great. Still great.
She looked a little rough, but she was working with Awesome Kong, wasn't she? And she was looking rough too?
Well, they didn't end up doing that. Awesome Kong was too hurt to do that match, I believe. Okay. But they were going to do that. She worked with, so that match, I forget who was, I know Rio was in it. Riho was also in it. Yuka, Emi, and Shida.
Okay.
We're also in it with Aja Kong. So that match was pretty good, other than that thing where the bellkeeper messed up, if you recall that.
I do not. But let's get back to the tournament itself. So this is building up to a title shot, right?
Yes. So the winner on the Japanese, so they're doing all the matches in Japan on the Japanese side at the Ice Ribbon Dojo.
Okay.
The winner will then fly over here and wrestle the winner on the U.S. side, and the winner then faces Hikaru Shida for the title. I don't know when all of that is going to happen.
Yeah, it's got to be up in the air, because right now travel restrictions are a little interesting no matter what anyone says.
Sure.
And it could change overnight. You know, I know our lockdown in Ontario apparently ends next week, and a bunch of shops are opening up again after being forced closed. But 3 weeks from now, they could be shut back down if there's a bunch of cases that increase. It doesn't sound like Florida's going to have that issue, but it could happen.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to get, it's, to me, more of the issue is that they have so many matches here, you know, and I know everybody's like, oh, I want all these matches to be on Dynamite. And it's like, even if the women's division was like the best women's division in the world, they're not going to be able to put all of these matches on. They have too much stuff going on. The fact that they're having the US side on Dynamite is a positive step in the right direction to me there, because I wasn't entirely sure they were going to do that. I don't know how they're going to do the Japanese side. Supposedly there's something cool being planned. Maybe they're going to put it on they're going to do a special late night Dynamite for that. Try something, experiment there. I don't know. We'll find out. But you know, it's tough to just see when this is going to end, because Revolution is on March 7th.
That's right.
You know, so we got 4 more shows till then, but it's not an infinite amount of time.
No, I have a feeling they won't make it for that show, which is too bad.
Well, I think you can find a way. I don't think you could find a way to wrap the whole tournament up before the show.
No.
But I think you could do a scenario where you do the finals of that on the show, and Shida defends the title against somebody else there. I honestly thought they were going to do her and Britt Baker, and then they put Britt in this tournament. Like, I thought the natural thing was Britt beats Thunder Rosa, and then that's the de facto #1 contender match, and you do her and Shida, but they chose to go another direction here. So I don't know who else they can do. It is interesting. Last night on Dark, they started an angle with Ivelisse and Diamante They now have this stable, which is carried over from Evilise's indie days, called Las Sicarias. And it is interesting because a former member of that stable is now going to be available next week when Via Trinidad's 90-day no-compete clause comes up.
Right.
So maybe there's going to be something with this group in Shida. Maybe they're going to set up something with Shida and a Japanese talent while she's over there. I don't know. But I mean, look, I'm very excited about this whole thing. We've all been waiting for this women's division to get a kick in the ass, as it were, and it's gotten better in the last few months, but this should really help it. This has the potential to be great.
Well, a lot of potential there, especially starting with that first match of Layla against Thunder Rosa. I think we can all predict that Thunder Rosa, well, I shouldn't even say that. They could go with an underdog surprise win for Layla Hirsch, who we both are fans of because of her blood sport. She's great. She's got a legitimate amateur background style of wrestling that I really appreciate. And Thunder Rosa is just great across the board.
They could always find a way to keep Britt and Thunder Rosa going with them costing each other in this tournament.
That's also true. That's a good point.
They can always do that.
So there's one more match we want to mention on Dynamite tonight.
Oh, yes.
Most likely the main event, and probably the biggest news coming out of Dynamite last week was the New Japan presence with AEW. We're not quite sure how far it's going to go, but we did see Kenta.
That's right.
Hideo Itami.
He's back on Wednesdays.
That's right. Except on TV this time. We had a discussion about has he ever been on TV. It's possible that he has been, but it sounds like he's only been on the WWE network when he was in the WWE. So
or 205 Live, which I believe is also on the network only, right?
I know it is now. I don't know if it always has been. I really can't recall. Either way, Kenta has not been as big a deal in the U.S. because he was always on that brand of the WWE, but now he's going to be a big deal, front and center, most likely the main event of Dynamite.
Oh, yeah.
Teaming with the AEW World Champion. So if this isn't the main event, well, maybe it's going to be Cody Rhodes with Avalon. But they'll be taking on the team of Jon Moxley and Lance Archer. Could you explain how they are teaming up story-wise for me?
So, okay.
Quickly.
So I'll try. I will do my damnedest there. You know me, I'm a storyteller. They did that 6-man tag main event last week, which was great. The Good Brothers and Kenny Omega won. After the match, Archer came out and attacked the Good Brothers. So obviously that match featured Pac and Phoenix in it. Archer has been loosely connected to them, so the loose thread there is he was coming out to help them. He also does have history with the Bullet Club because he was a New Japan guy too. He was with Minoru Suzuki and such. He has history with Moxley from New Japan and AEW, obviously.
That's right.
So he came out to help. He sent the Good Brothers away, and then Moxley was about to attack Omega, and then Kenta comes in with the mask, attacks him, takes the mask off, hits the GTS, which Mox sold terribly, if I'm being honest with you.
Really?
But nobody cares at that moment in time. Everybody's like, oh.
It's AEW. They forget all the mistakes that they make.
Well, that's not it. They're too busy thinking it's Kenta. That's what, come on, you're not thinking about mistakes at that time. You're thinking, oh, look, Kenta's here. Hideo Itami not getting attacked in the parking lot.
Well, I thought that last time with the Royal Rumble match between Owens and Reigns, but apparently everyone wanted to talk about the mistake at the end instead of the great match that took place around it. But I think people are more forgiving with AEW in general.
Well, they definitely were in this case. I'll tell you that. And let me tell you, if Kenta had taken 15 years to get the mask off, people would have remembered that, right?
Fair enough. He takes the mask off. He hits Jon Moxley. But why are Moxley and Archer teaming? Because they were both attacked last week, basically?
But because Archer came to the aid of him, Phoenix, and Pac.
So it's begrudgingly they're teaming? They're not super best friends?
It's begrudgingly on both sides. They did an angle after the show online that they've replayed since and such, where Kenta was pretty much like, I ain't come here to help you, Omega. I'm here for Moxley, because obviously the angle there is for the IWGP United States title in New Japan, which they're doing the 26th of this month.
Okay.
So that's why Kenta is here. That's the whole reason this whole deal has come together. So he wants to beat up Moxley. He doesn't care for Omega, but Omega, who also wants to beat up Moxley, is like, hey, that's fine. We have common goals. So I'll team with you. Archer, you got involved in my business. So let's do this match. And because Kenta doesn't work here, let's make it a no DQ falls count anywhere, lights out style match.
Gotcha. Okay, so going forward, I wanted to ask you, what other connections have they hinted at with New Japan? Now, I know that, I think it was Tama Tonga. He's been on Twitter saying that it's not the real Bullet Club or a bunch of garbage. I don't really get in details on that. But are there any other connections that we could expect? Because I got to admit, when we heard about the Impact AEW mix, I got excited because I'm an Impact fan, and then I really haven't seen all that much. It's been the same people the whole time. Omega and the Good Brothers, and then Private Party with Matt Hardy seems to be.
Yeah, with Matt Hardy.
And that's about it. So I haven't really felt that aspect of the whole company being involved in this. Is that what's going to happen here with New Japan?
It's tough to say right now because obviously with Impact and AEW, there isn't that much travel because it's all in the US. New Japan is obviously situated in Japan. Yes, you might have heard that. It's in the name. Guys like Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, Minoru Suzuki, the great Tomohiro Ishii, big fan. Kota Ibushi, who's obviously a big connection to Omega and such. These guys all live there. So that's going to be tough. And New Japan tours pretty regularly. So that's going to be tough to get them as of now. There are a few guys who do live in the US who come back when the tours are over and take time off. Guys like, David Finlay Jr., Juice Robinson, the aforementioned Tama Tonga, his brother, and perhaps most notably, Jay White.
So he does live in the States?
Apparently so. Apparently they all live in Florida. Florida is the place to be if you're a wrestling guy. Kenta lives there.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, only because he had, we heard that with Shinsuke Nakamura, where he came to Florida and loves it. He does all his surfing. He loves being in the States, and it's a big reason why, even though his position in WWE is not always the best, he's pretty happy.
Well, this is his retirement tour anyway. Him and Kenta are different in that regard. Shinsuke is content. Kenta was not. That was the big difference.
Definitely not.
Right,
well, not happy with WWE, that's for sure.
Right.
So Dynamite seems to be a pretty big deal. We got those connections with Impact and New Japan. It looks like they're building up this women's tournament. No one could ever deny, when it comes to excitement, no one does it better than AEW. I am a huge WWE and NXT fan. I don't think I could ever hide that. But you'll also never hear me say, it's exciting to be a WWE fan. It's just a good show. So for everyone who's tuning into Dynamite and AEW, prepare for excitement. No matter what, you're going to get
except for those two matches we talked about.
Well, there's a 2-hour show. You're going to get some excitement, not in every segment. That's all.
Well, yeah, that's tough. That's tough for any show. Hey, look, we all hope WWE will be exciting one day. Even if I'm not the biggest, nobody wants it to be dull as shit. Nobody wants to be, have their hole sore afterwards.
All right, we've beaten that one like a dead horse.
I don't know about that one, Chief. I don't know about that one.
You mentioned earlier how the NXT tag tournament has not done well with the ratings. You probably noticed I don't contribute to anything with the ratings because I don't give a crap. I just want to watch a wrestling show. So I'm
the ratings guy there. Yeah,
you're the ratings and numbers guy, and you know the segments. I just know I enjoyed NXT, and it's very rare that I don't enjoy NXT. So far, though, with the announced show for tonight, not all that exciting, and it's probably all leading into the show this coming Sunday with very awkward title Vengeance Day takeover. But we still have the finals, or I should say semifinals, of the Dusty Cup tournament, where we have MSK, the former Rascals, the super fun named Nash Carter, and the not so fun named Wes Lee.
What does MSK mean?
No idea.
We still don't know.
But they're taking on an exciting team of Legado del Fantasma honestly,
Ronnie and DJZ, yeah.
Absolutely. And while they have been the lackeys to Santos Escobar, that stable's been a lot better. We talked recently about how poorly WWE has booked Latino wrestlers and luchadors in general, outside of Rey Mysterio, basically. NXT, we forget they do a better job.
They do a better job.
But the Lucha Dragons, which were the last big stars that I could think of, they weren't big stars, but they were at least treated fairly in NXT before.
Sabra was a much bigger star than those jokers.
Another good point. Very good point. Either way, NXT, they do enough to promote the Latino stars and really make a name out of them as best as possible.
Well, as long as it's not Lindsay and Grand Metalik.
Well, they were never on NXT.
Well, they were last week and they lost, and now they're gone.
Let me rephrase that. They weren't NXT roster members. That's more what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Whereas the ones that we did mention, they were roster members and they have been promoted well. But WWE does such a poor job in general that you forget that NXT can be the exception. And that's been the case here with Santos Escobar and his two lackeys. But still, going to be an exciting match. The other one that's related to the semifinal for the NXT Dusty Cup tournament is the Grizzled Young Veterans against Timothy Thatcher, the ratings destroyer, apparently.
Yeah.
And Ciampa. So you talk quickly about thrown together teams. That's definitely one of them. And so far, I get the feeling they might end up winning it because that's just what NXT has done.
That's probably going to be the main event too, right? Isn't that? Is there a match?
Out of the 3 matches they've booked, that would be the main event. They might book something around Finn Balor.
That's going to go up against that Omega, and oh my good boy, Triple H may want to take a 5 minutes before he gets those numbers. The next day.
They could just put on a show and not give a shit like I do. The other match that's going to be on, though, is the for the women's Dusty Cup. Ember Moon is teaming up with Shotzi Blackheart that we mentioned earlier, taking on our favorite, The Way. Candice LeRae we're big fans of, but associated with Johnny Gargano, unfortunately, does not. I
rewatched a match of hers in PWG the other day, and I was like, oh man, she's so freaking great.
She's still very good. She's being dragged down, though, for sure, around this thing. In my opinion.
Well, hey, when your gimmick is Johnny Gargano's wife, I mean, that's always bothered me. That's pretty much been her defining trait, has it not?
I never found that to be the case, but I know that that's been a common complaint.
Yeah.
She has her own personality. She's been tied in with Indy Hartwell, her tag team partner in this thing, and she's been a singles component to the last 2 years. She's been in the title picture. She had some good feuds with Io Shirai. So I think she's done more than just be Gargano's wife, but definitely in a stable with him. It's kind of hard not to.
I meant more, not as that all she's done has been associated with Johnny, just that her main character is, she's Johnny's wife. Like, that's been her defining trait there. Not that the matches have been it's all about Johnny. No, obviously the Io Shirai matches, most of them were borderline classics, as I recall.
They were very good.
Yeah. So that was my only point.
Fair enough. That's fair. So only 3 matches because WWE's the king of promotion, but that's it so far. And then they're booking towards TakeOver this Sunday, and that card quickly is we just mentioned Finn Balor defending against Pete Dunne. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Pete Dunne is going to carry Finn Balor to a good match. That or Finn Balor's going to have Pete Dunne's worst big match in WWE today.
Just remember, folks, he is not a fan of Finn Balor. I think he's good, but he's not that special.
He sucks. Let's move on.
All right, then. Johnny Gargano, who I do think we'd both agree definitely sucks these days. Still a good talent. He does have something to offer, but not in this role. It's just not working for me. He's defending his NXT North American title against Kushida. Should still be another good match.
I know that guy.
Yeah,
I remember him. Yeah, I remember him.
We'll see the finals from the tag tournament. So the winner of the Ember Moon Shotzi Blackheart against The Way will end up facing Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez.
Oh, so Catanzaro and Caden Carter lost, huh?
They lost last week.
That's just as well. Casey has become the new she and Jericho are now the poster childs for what not to do during a pandemic.
And Steve Cutler as well, apparently.
Yeah. Well, how bad did he have to miss? Like that, Drew McIntyre went out and partied on New Year's and got COVID.
Is that I didn't know that.
Yeah, him and Sheamus. There's photos of them somewhere. From what I understand, they were out. I think in another state too.
Then how did Sheamus not get it?
I don't. He's a luckier man or something. I don't know. I just know that Drew was out and did get it from that. But look, and obviously, look, they're not gonna fire Drew like they did Steve Cutler. I understand that and such. But Steve Cutler was not the only guy that did that. So it is bizarre that he's the one that got fired. And then you've got Catanzaro, who I would say she's probably higher on the pecking order too, even though Cutler had been on the main roster and she's in NXT. But she's going everywhere without masks. She's hanging out with a woman who was at the Capitol riots. I don't know if you heard. No. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that one too. So. Like,
well, that'll only get her in Vince's good books, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised they didn't win that match last week after that one.
Well, they were made to look pretty good. They didn't lose, and it was clean, but...
All I saw is that she tried that dive, and she stepped on somebody's face, and I was like, you got to retire that move.
Yeah, I don't. It's not working for me either, but you know me. I love flips.
The flips.
Keep going with what else is on the TakeOver show. They have the finals of the men's tournament, so we don't know who's going to be involved with that because both semifinals are on tonight. And then they have the women's triple threat title match. Could be between the men's title match and the women's. I can't really predict what's going to be.
The women's match is going to be better. I'll predict it right now.
You can predict that. Pete Dunne is just too good. I can't say otherwise yet. But
but Finn Balor is the opposite of Pete Dunne.
You got to give that up once in a while. Io Shirai
I'm not giving it up.
Defend against Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. So
I mean, just look at those three right there.
Oh, it's going to be a great match.
Pete Dunne is great. Yes, and maybe he is able to do what Gato once did and get something great out of Finn Balor. But
we've seen great Finn Balor matches with Kyle O'Reilly. I know you didn't watch them, but I don't think you could dispute that most fans have enjoyed it.
Kyle O'Reilly, I'd have to think of who's better. I think Pete Dunne is better than Kyle O'Reilly.
Exactly. So I think this match.
So it is possible, but I mean, Toni Storm is world class. Mercedes Martinez is world class. Io Shirai is beyond world class. Io Shirai might be the best wrestler alive.
I could see that.
I mean, I like, I'd obviously have to think about that too. She's certainly, I think her and Asuka, just in terms of ability, are the two best in WWE.
I could see that.
So yeah, I would say, honestly, I would close the match with that show, but you know me, I like to live dangerously.
All right. Other things going on this weekend. Impact's No Surrender. So we did quickly talk about their tie-in with AEW. They have a match involving some AEW personnel.
Oh, I know why you're bringing this up. You want that reaction out of me for that one match here.
Yeah, that I do. We'll get to that in a second. But the main event is the oddest main event. Now, you got to remember, this is an Impact Plus show. It's not exactly a pay-per-view. It's one of those in-between shows. But Tommy Dreamer is getting a world title shot against Rich Swann. Now, you were saying that's because it's his 50th birthday.
It's a 50th birthday present for Tommy Dreamer. I would have just gotten him a cake and maybe put him... And maybe had him win like a battle royal or something. I don't know if I would have done this. But...
Yeah, I don't know. Look, it's like I said, Impact Plus, so they're not really losing anything, but it's still very odd.
That's not the big match, obviously.
No. Well, I think that's going to be the main event, but there's other big matches, such as the Good Brothers. They're going to be teaming up, obviously, but they're going to be taking on Private Party.
Yeah.
For the Impact Tag titles.
Right.
So
that'll be interesting.
I'm not much of a Private Party fan because, again, love those flips.
Well, flips.
But I do like the Good Brothers.
I look forward to seeing Gallows try. That was the draw for the match last week. Guy was like, does Gallows actually have to catch a Phoenix dive? And he did, and he caught the dive. So now we get to see if he'll do it with Mark Quinn. which I have my doubts on, but we'll see.
If he does the Samoa Joe, just back up, I'll be happy. TJP is going to take on Rohit Raju for the X Division title. They've had been feuding for way too long, in my opinion. But
yawn there.
There's an interesting match. We didn't know what the gimmick was. Then I looked it up, and it actually sounds pretty interesting. It's the Triple Threat Revolver match for a future shot at the X Division title, but it's involving 8 people. So how does a triple threat work?
Yeah.
Basically, it's a triple threat match, but it's elimination style. And when someone's eliminated, the next person comes in.
It's a triple threat gauntlet.
Exactly.
Match,
and I gotta say, that's a pretty darn good gimmick. I am interested in seeing how this goes. It's too bad
better than the reverse Royal Rumble idea they had once upon a time.
I could not sit through that, but this will be pretty good. It's too bad it's for the X Division title because, again, I just love those flips. If you couldn't tell, I'm sarcastic when I say that, and that's what, unfortunately, the X Division's all about. But not everyone does the flips in this match. So Daivari, Suicide, Willie Mack. He's always going to be my favorite one.
We love Willie Mack.
Love Willie Mack. Another good one coming up, Josh Alexander. I hope both of them win at the same time somehow because they put on great matches.
Or at least the final 2, you know?
Yeah, that would work for me. Trey Miguel came back to Impact. He did not join the MSK Mystery Tour.
What does it mean?
Yeah, nobody knows. Chris Bay and then Blake Christian that you were telling me was in DCW.
I love Blake. Yeah, you're going to hate him.
Yeah, I've already seen his match. He was at Hard to Kill, and no thanks.
He's great. I love that guy.
For your reaction, Hernandez is teaming up with Brian Myers to take on Eddie Edwards and the former Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona. What are your thoughts, Cult?
Who the... I have interacted with Scott D'Amore on Twitter. Actually, I think he just liked a post I did, so that's probably the extent of it. But
yeah, it was when you liked Joe Doring getting
that's a great point. Eric Young and Joe Doring are on this roster, but we can't have them on this show because we got to do Eddie Edwards, who I almost fell asleep saying his name right now, and Matt Cardona against Brett Myers and who I've already forgotten who the other guy was. Who's
Brian Myers and Hernandez.
I called him Kurt. I've already forgotten his name. Hernandez.
I'm catching up on Impact. I really had trouble getting through Hard to Kill. I hate the Kenny Omega presence. I like wrestlers to act like wrestlers, not like pretend wrestlers. I know all the hate mail. Bring it on. And then the announce team has been terrible. I really can't stand Matt Stryker, but I finally sat through it. I started going through the impacts. I'm excited to find out why these matches are booked, but at this point, I'm yawning. I don't understand. I'm looking at this card and I'm thinking I must have missed the last year of Impact because there's none of this that makes sense.
The one thing you can't say it isn't like Hard to Kill. It is like a side show. It's like a semi-important show and such. So I understand that, but like Hernandez and the former Kurt Hawkins, because I'm going to forget his name if I don't just say that, against Matt Cardona and Eddie. I'm the least interesting between me and Davey Richards Edwards. God, I hate that team. I just need to say that right now.
American Wolves.
Davey Richards sucks too. I just need to get that out here. Send your hate mail to me too, Voices of Wrestling. God, who booked that? You have so many talented people on there, and we're gonna do this whole the Edgeheads explodes thing.
Yeah, the match that no one was asking for.
Where's Moose? I mean, I know Moose has his issues outside of the ring, but we couldn't get him on the show. Where's Eric Young and Joe Doring? Where's
Gianna Peraza? Where's Jordan Grace? Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's a 5-card match. They might be adding more at the last minute, but for what's announced,
are Ken Shamrock and Sammy Callahan too busy watching UFC 1 back or something? Why aren't they there?
It's a weird card, but that's what's going on Saturday night in the Impact world. What is going on in the Lucha world? Now, last week, Lucha Central announced their awards, and you were telling me that Luchador of the Year was Phoenix, correct?
Ray Phoenix defeated Santos Escobar was actually last place. I should have gone with him last. Sorry, Phantasma. Sorry. You were still within 10% though. It's still good. Not bad. Phoenix defeated his brother, Pentagon. He defeated Laredo Kid and one other guy who I can't remember. Oh, it was Titan, I believe, of CMLL. He defeated that. It was the closest race pretty much of all the categories. But yes, Phoenix won. I voted for Laredo Kid. Laredo Kid is my guy, but you couldn't really go wrong with even Phantasma had a really good year overall. I would say I don't think you could go wrong with any of them. Mm-hmm. So, but yes, Phoenix won. He won a few. Laredo Kid won a couple, I believe, as well.
Very nice.
LA Park won Rudo of the Year. They will all be getting plaques before long that they can hang up on their walls, or in AAA owner Dorian Roldan's case, next to his Vito Corleone bobblehead, which I happened to see once on a media call that he had in his office. That's great. Well,
speaking of AAA, their big news is that they started their tapings for their upcoming shows. Is that what you were telling me earlier?
Yes. So they have begun their tapings with the tourist department in conjunction with them. They did their first. In fact, they did like several tapings, as a matter of fact, this past, I think it was Thursday through Sunday. I could have it wrong, could have been through Saturday, but they taped several shows a day. So they have tapings until April, I believe, whenever they decide to use them. I know Phoenix was there.
Okay.
So he was there. Omega was not there before, because there's going to be somebody here. Oh, was Kenny Omega there? No, he was not. Laredo Kid was there. I think Pentagon might have been there. I'm not entirely sure about that. He is in Mexico right now because he's having visa issues.
Oh.
The usual cast of characters. I like, Murder Clown, Psycho Clown, Hijo del Vikingo, the Luchadoras and such, like Lady Shani and Lady Maravilla.
But not Taya Valkyrie?
No, nobody knows what's going on with Taya right now. Okay. Taya is, regardless of who she chooses, I believe she said she's not going back to Mexico until the pandemic is over, one way or the other. So that's not going to impact that.
She'll probably just end up dropping the title then? Just handing it over?
No, as long as she's unless she goes to WWE, then they'll do that. But as long as there's a chance, they'll keep it on it. The titles don't mean as much down there. That's why Omega's been able to hold it for so long, although Omega does travel down there too. I don't believe LA Park was there. I don't know that for sure. I don't believe Blue Demon Jr. is there, but Blue Demon Jr., he's now going to be a Disney Channel or Disney Plus star. There's a TV show coming out with the little girl from Lucifer. And he's also running for mayor of a town in Mexico as well. So he's a busy man, that Blue Demon Jr.
Very interesting.
I wonder if his candidacy will be hurt when they see the video of him breaking Dr. Wagner's Jr.'s hand with a hammer during their Triple Mania match. That might hurt him right there.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
That's all I got.
Lucha World's getting started up again. We don't know when they're going to air, but we know they're doing their tapings, and that's nothing but good news.
Oh, yes.
The world, I know we talked on a sour note to get started, and yes, I might have COVID, and so might my microphone right now. Anyone who's paying attention, I'm feeling okay. But again, if we're not here next week, it's most likely because I am feeling under the weather.
Right.
And until we get any more wrestling, we do have a lot going on. Obviously, the road to WrestleMania. AEW is building up to Revolution. Impact, they're building up to their big show in, I think it's Genesis that they're doing in April, but they've got the Impact show of No Surrender.
Or isn't it Rebellion?
Well, Rebellion's the, yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
Revolution is what I was thinking for AEW.
Yeah.
Rebellion is their, that's true. Because I remember they did a taping in Toronto, and it was right around the time I was getting back into Impact, and I'm an hour away from Toronto. So I was considering going, and I'm not that into it yet. It wasn't worth it. And then I watched the show and said, I wish I would have gone. That would have been a good show.
Yeah.
Right on. So a lot of good wrestling going on. How's your hole doing after an hour and a half of this taping?
Yeah, and you said we were done with that.
I'm allowed to bring it up one more time.
Oh, you're allowed to bring it up.
That's the only time I'll abuse my hosting privileges.
My hole is just fine, and now that we're done with this, I'm going to go play a golf game where I'm going to hopefully hit a lot of balls into holes. So there you go.
This Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, that's the one I'm looking for. Reference brought to you by our sponsor of Slurm. Big fans of early Adam Sandler movies. Wedding Singer, my favorite of all time.
Slurm, good for the holes.
Hopefully, well, it does come out of one if anyone's seen where it came from Futurama. That is disgusting.
That joke was bad, and I should feel bad.
That is accurate. Well, don't feel bad. We are finishing things up here at the Decline of Wrestling Civilization. Thank you once again, cult icon Eric Mutter, the mother of this channel.
Yes, thank you. And hey, from me and all of us to you, I hope you're gonna feel better. All right, hang in there, man. Hey. Don't get me worried here now.
I'm all right. It's just
I'm gonna be checking in on you a lot. Me and Coach are gonna be, checking in on you every 5 minutes, pretty much.
I'll try to do this show from my deathbed if it gets that bad.
Oh God.
This is Joe Martel signing off.
This is Joe Martel saying, "Protect the holes."
And on that note, good night, everybody, or good morning, actually.
Yes, bye, everybody. Bye.